Hi friends, this is DaintyTank. Thank you for joining me. Welcome back to Who is the Red Queen? This is part 2 in our series, Poke Totoro in the upper right card area. If you couldn't tell, I kind of railed straight into another round, but I wanted to pause on this screen because big bold letters, warning. This visual novel contains death, violent content, animal cruelty, imprisonment, and suicide from tall places. Just letting you know. Beware! This is a violent one. Trigger warning right here up front. Right where we left off. Presented by Fornuki. We are playing Who is the Red Queen? Last we left off, we found out we were Alice, and we had a strange familiarity with everything that we were coming across, which was great, honestly. But we also unfortunately found out that the only way home is through the Red Queen, but it finds out the Red Queen has been dismembered. So we went back and slept at the Hatter's place, and stayed with the Hatter. I dreamed of falling. The next day and the day after, I continued my search for the Red Queen's parts. Remembering that the Cheshire Cat mentioned the White Queen, decided to give the Queen a second visit. I thought that I could easily replicate the route to her garden, having only recently been there. However, the more I walked, the more apparent it became I was lost. Again? You were lost again? I passed the tree to the right a handful of times already. I was going in circles, getting nowhere closer to that beautiful garden and its equally pretty owner. Allow a sigh and chose a bush at random to walk through instead of following a path. My cloak saved me from being scratched by the leaves and branches of the bushes. I came out on the other side, to a particularly tall tree and a large bird cage. Bird cage? Oh. Okay, that was absolutely gorgeous. I spotted the White Queen inside the birdcage. Behind her was a limb and a leg. Hello? We meet again, Alice. I hadn't expected that I would be trapped here again. I'm a little embarrassed that you're seeing me like this. What happened? I contemplated just asking for the leg and leaving. You're gonna leave her in a birdcage? You're just... Thanks, bye! Waving the leg as you leave. No, that would be a terribly foul thing to do, especially to a pretty person like her. Although, in a way, it almost seemed like a good idea to leave a pretty bird locked up in a cage all by for oneself. Are you locking up girls to keep them? Is that what you're doing? After all, how would you catch her if you let her go free? Is that the Red Queen's leg? Is that the Red Queen's right leg? So it would appear. To find the Red Queen, you may have to find her parts as well. Even so, she should be able to help you find your way back home. I'm sorry, Alice. Don't apologize. The key to my prison is atop the towering tree. Would you help me open the cage, Alice? Yes, of course. Pretty bird that I contemplated leaving there. Agreeing to the request, I walked over to the tall tree that the White Queen gestured toward. How tall it was, I couldn't say. If I angled my head and squinted, I could see the glimmering of a silver key at a high branch above. I circled the tree, the front and the back, the sides left and right. They all looked equally hard to climb. As I pondered on how to scale the tree, a little bird approached. Chirp, chirp, said a little bird. With all the talking animals and not quite animals in Wonderland, I had an inkling that this one might speak as well. Perhaps it spoke French, like a French bird. Bonjour? That's a very peculiar thought. Oh. And it worked? Bonjour. Unfortunately, I know little French. My practice had grown rusty, so much that the tutors would be ashamed, but I tried to pull out at least one more phrase. Où est ma chat? Chirp! I must have said the wrong words, as the poor bird began to tremble. Parlez-vous anglais? Yes, yes, chirp, chirp. Cats? No, no cats, please. Oh yeah, I was about to say chat means cat. What are you doing? What are you doing? Chirp, chirp. I'm trying to get the key up there. What are you doing, little bird? Chirp. Just having lots of fun every day. Not doing anything in particular. Not doing anything in particular. Now that the Red Queen, Her Majesty, is missing, Wonderland is so much more wonderful. We can play and frolic as we want. Chirp, chirp. Auntie Bird got in trouble for breaking Her Majesty's laws, and now there's no more Auntie Bird. Chirp, chirp. I was so sad, so sad. Her Majesty was so scary, so scary. You wouldn't tell on me, right? Chirp. Chirp, chirp. You look like a nice person. Chirp. Much nicer than her. Much nicer than her. Oh, I see. I'll help you with the key. Chirp. Puffing out its little chest, the bird flapped its wings and took off upward into the sky. I flew and flew and flew, but soon enough became tired. Not reaching the key on the tree, the bird faltered and fluttered back down. It dipped its head in disappointment. Sorry, I couldn't do it. Chirp. Kill the bird. Don't kill the bird! What's the bird done to you? Pet the bird. Don't worry about it. I rubbed the little bird's head, causing it to peek up at me with its large, round eyes, glittering with surprise. After the failed first attempt at the key, I returned to the White Queen's side. She looked fitting in the cage, pretty, like a flower preserved forever in glass. Again, I thought that she was beautiful. Really, she was beautiful. That's nice. That's true. Alice, what are you talking to yourself? Why? And why does that come out? Do you have, like, the consciousness of the Red Queen in you? Excuse me while I wax my labia. Even so, I couldn't let her stay trapped, not to mention the Red Queen's leg. I wasn't able to find a way up. Do you have any ideas for what I should do, White Queen? Over there are some mushrooms. If you eat the ones to the left, you will grow. If you eat the ones to the right, you will shrink. I think they will be helpful. Magic mushrooms? Magic mushrooms. I was hesitant to eat mushrooms picked from unknown wilderness, as you should, but I felt that I could trust the White Queen. She'll give me a nice trip. Why? I didn't know. Well, this is Wonderland, isn't it? I'd forgotten something important. The feeling of forgetting tingled in the back of my mind whenever I saw the White Queen. Finding the mushrooms she pointed out, I faced a choice. Grow or shrink? Grow. I ate a left mushroom, immediately began to grow. My line of sight rose higher and higher as I began, as if I were a bean sprout. But once I stopped growing, I could reach the top of the towering tree if I reached out my arm. Fantastically, my clothes grew with me. I cautiously pinched the silver key and removed it from the tree, holding it lightly, so as not to break it with my now giant hands. The key I now had, but the cage I could not open. It was much too big. The magic will wear off. In the meantime, would you accompany me to, chat, Alice? That may be for the best. I would have to wait till I reverted back to my original size to open the door. Is the invitation for tea, sometime, still open? Yes, always. Then shall I ask about what sorts of food and tea you like to drink to see what I might expect? What's your favorite tea? White tea, of course. Do you prefer black tea still? How did you know? We chatted for a while about tea, and at some point, the conversation turned to flowers. Perhaps it was that she felt ambivalently on floral teas. You are welcome to visit the garden anytime. I couldn't find the way to the garden today. Perhaps getting lost had been for the better, as I found her in the end. Yes, that happens when I'm not there, but Wonderland shall lead you my way if you think of me. At least for you, Alice. I have nowhere to be but the garden. She paused, looking at something in the distance that I could not see. Would you believe me if I told you I can see the future? I looked her in the eyes and ascertained a calm surety. I didn't feel that she would lie, yet I couldn't quite believe her words either. I wondered what I had forgotten, what I was doubting. Rather than answer, I decided to play along. Can you change the future, you say? Why do you ask? Otherwise, isn't it lonesome? I don't believe that the future is predestined, but the solitude of such a power would also be the fate of a queen in this world. Her words sounded contradictory, even for the Red Queen, especially for the Red Queen. The White Queen spoke of fate as if still trapped by something more than just this bird cage. I couldn't understand. We talked a little longer. I felt a tingling up my arms and began to revert to my usual size. The world warped and it finally popped back into its proper place. I twirled around to check that all was well. Identifying no issues, I picked up the key that I dropped to the ground at some point and then inserted it into the lock of the White Queen's birdcage. With a smooth click, the cage unlocked. I opened the door. The White Queen stumbled out of the cage, her legs still wobbly from sitting in the cage for so long. She let me hold her steady till she rebalanced herself. Is that right? You held the pretty lady? Thank you. You're welcome. I ought to return to the garden now, but my invitation is always open, Alice. I'll see you later if you are willing. She handed me the Red Queen's leg. Freed from the birdcage, the White Queen departed to return to her garden. After wandering around some more, I returned to the Hatter's place, with the second limb in hand. The day came to an end, but the Hatter's clock remained at tea time. She was arguing with her own hand puppet about some sort of song, some rendition of Twinkle Twinkle. The hair on her hand was flung back and forth. I waited out, seeing this. She started laughing by herself halfway through. Apparently, she couldn't sing. Once her shoulders stopped shaking, the Hatter turned to me. Alice, you voyeur? I see you've brought a second one. The one is one, and this one is two. Good work. The Hatter clapped her wrists half a dozen times. That just looks dirty. It's okay. Alice, wouldn't you join us for tea again today? Hatter makes scones. It has butter. Thank you for the invitation. Dormouse. Oh, smile. Upon my response to the Dormouse, she immediately brightened up. If it would make the Hatter happy, I didn't see why not just play along. There is the thing. Do that from the start. Yes. Leg. Sitting aside her puppet friends, she extended an open palm toward me. I proceeded to commit lèse-majesté by tossing the limb over the Hatter's tea table ladder. I took a seat in my armchair, seeing her clumsily catch it in her arms. At my seat, there was already a cup of tea prepared. With her free hand, the Hatter opened up the dog cage and retrieved the other limb. Do you need any help with that? I have everything under control. Without another pause, the Hatter stuck the limbs onto the Red Queen's torso. The flesh sounded with a squelch as the muscle, skin, and bone began to knit into place. Still a red line remained where the limbs connected. I took a bite of scone. As the Hatter said, it had butter. The Red Queen's incomplete body twitched, something squirming under the skin. Spread some clotted cream, and jam onto the scone. Perfect blend of sweetness made me wonder where she got the jam. It was very red. Ow. A single arm grabbed at the Hatter, smacking as it squirmed. The Hatter kicked the incomplete Red Queen, rendering the limbed hunk of meat paralyzed with shock. The Hatter forced its limbs off. Not yet. A bit of blood and something else dripped onto the ground. Gripping the writhing limbs in her hands, the Hatter popped open the dog cage door with her feet and chucked them both in. With a thud, into the cage, the arm and leg went. Good scones. Thank you. You mentioned you also had some business with the Red Queen, Hatter? But what is it? Something to do with red? Something to do with flesh? I realized that I didn't quite know. A personal matter, Alice. I'd prefer you don't pry. I was the one gathering the pieces, so of course I wanted to know. Then again, the Hatter could just as well put the corpse together herself. A better question was how she obtained the first chunk of meat, but I doubted she would answer. I was curious, after all. Not every Hatter keeps the Red Queen's dismembered body at their table, much less treats it like you do. The White Rabbit is searching for the Red Queen right now, you see. And the Red Queen is right there. At least part of her was. No one likes the White Rabbit. Why didn't you tell her, Alice? Well, I didn't feel like it. The White Rabbit was boring. I had a feeling of that telling her anything about the corpse sitting with us wouldn't help me much. You saved me from the dungeon. In the dark, dank place. A hat's not enough for the cold. Dungeons here aren't for keeping, but for killing. I see. Let's commit lese-majest together. Surely the Red Queen will forgive us for piecing her together. I much preferred this Mad Hatter. No, Alice. This is much closer to blasphemy. We have no choice but to beg the Wraith God for forgiveness. Don't you know? I couldn't help but think of Osiris, the judge of the dead, cut to pieces by his own brother. Even the god king, rather a god queen, could be chopped up and rendered helpless. The tutors would be proud of me for remembering. So. It'll be good working with you, Hatter. I offered a hand to shake. Seeing her hesitation, I expected her to reject my outstretched hand, but she instead grabbed my finger, with an expression filled with uncertainty. Finger. I thought she would try to pry my finger off, however, she only gripped me weakly and shook it up and down before letting go once more. She was a bit gloomier for the time after. Night fell, and another day ended. What did I dream of? I must have forgotten. Only 2 more limbs and a head remained. I continued my adventure to collect the Red Queen, so I could finally meet her and find a way back home. Step, step, step. I walked around the opposite upside-down world. In between my explorations of Wonderland, I chatted with the Hatter, and she made a certain inquiry. What do you want to go back to? What do you want to go back to at home? What indeed? Alice, what was waiting for you at home? I counted off my fingers. 2 sisters, 2 cats, a large empty home, books, and tutors. With my sisters, Lori and Edie, I was not particularly close. The older Lorena and the younger Edith, intelligent Lorena, and precocious Edith. They seemed to live in their own world, apart from Alice. I preferred the cats, a white cat and a black cat. The former was cute, a little beauty like the White Queen, and the latter, a little devil. As for the books, our library seemed endless. We had so many books that I could drown. Maybe a pile had collapsed on me and I was dying, suffocating under the pages so terribly that I fell into Wonderland. The tutors would be so mad that the books were ruined. I winced at a phantom stinging the back of my legs. The poor ruler. I could already see it go red. Ruler? Did you get hit? Huh. That was my world. A boring, normal, plain world where animals didn't talk and corpses didn't move. Where I hadn't need to think of much at all. I was Alice, and that place was Alice's place. I fiddle with my fingers, grasping it for the correct expression to wear. A smile? A smile was always safe. I'll be off then. Step, step, step. I traversed about this place, which was not Alice's place, my place. I was walking around, searching for clues for where the next limbs or even head could be when I heard the sound of a conversation. Oh, I followed the noise and found the oddest pair, a rabbit and a cat. Ask the Hatter. Hatter? The Mad Hatter? She's more cuckoo about than the bird. A real nuisance. The only silver lining is how now that rat and hare are out of the way, she became more of a recluse. Rat and hare. Oh. 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 Did the Red Queen... So the Red Queen killed the bird. The bird's like auntie, right? The auntie bird. And so did it kill also... Did she just sit there and murder like all of her residents? That's what it seems like. My ears are still ringing from that time we had to pull peasants off the street to sing for royal guests. The courts have stopped working. The kingdom's falling into anarchy. We've got filth on the ground left and right. Up and down too. Shut up, you damn cat. Ooh. You fucking criminal pretending to be a cat. Oh. If we weren't so busy, I'd send the guards to chain you up and throw you back into the dungeons where you belong. Whoa, Rabbit. Frick, man. Rabbit's just sitting here like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. Just, I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. Okay. Scary threats from a rabbit. Listen up, your name is still on top of the list for execution, cat. Don't think you can do whatever you want. What? Are you gonna... Oh my god, execution? Now I've got to... Alice! Erp? The white rabbit made a puking sound. The blood drained from her face when she met my eyes. Hello. Did I interrupt the conversation? No, not at all. Hello, Alice. I hope we weren't too loud. The cat and I were just making some small talk. How have you been? Well enough, and you? No, well enough as well. Well. What about me? Well, are you well? It depends. I'm cat. The cat's punchline met silence. Are you two friends? No. Yes. Our circles rarely overlap. We only happen to meet and talk today by coincidence. I'm her bunny. I thought we were friends. Cheshire Cat, please refrain from giving me unsolicited nicknames. Bunny. You two seem to get along. No, not really. They don't seem to get along at all. I just liked how the white rabbit thought that she could lie straight to my face about what they were talking about before. Lie. That was what the queen's courtiers ought to do. Hilarious. After a short three-way chat, the white rabbit pulled up me to the side for a private conversation. I have an invitation for you, Alice. The white rabbit reached into her coat, retrieving an envelope from an inner pocket. She held it out to me. The Duchess has invited you to her endless party. If you're interested in attending, it is and will always be held at her manor. I took the outstretched invitation. What is it? On and on and on indefinitely. Ever since Her Majesty's gone missing, the Duchess has been holed up in her manor, holding a grand ball, day and night. If I don't know better, I could think that she was celebrating, but she wouldn't be so foolish. I see. Thank you for the invitation. Tracing the oddly familiar wax seal upon the envelope, I fiddled with the invitation in my hand. I wondered where I had seen it before. I live to serve, Alice. What a relief. A burden has lifted off my shoulders now that the invitation is delivered. If it pleases you to attend, I hope you will have an enjoyable time. The Duchess certainly knows how to throw parties. And the nobility of Wonderland, how to play. I tucked the invitation away. Is there anything else? No, not that is all. I won't bother you any further. Please excuse me, Alice, and have a nice day. Bowing her head a few times, she made her way away, and soon was out of sight. And off she goes. We were talking about something too. That white rabbit, she only cares about the Mad Queen. I've got a little secret about the Red Queen. Just a bit of gossip. Do you want to hear? Certainly. I was in a bit of stump trying to find the rest of the Red Queen. The first 2 pieces came along quite easily as I delivered them on a silver platter, but now I had to find some more clues. Wait for the cat to speak again, glancing at her flicking tail. She gestured for me to come closer. When she moved in, she flicked me sharply on the forehead, causing me to recoil in surprise and stumble back. I never said I would say. Try finding me later, Alice. Okay. Oh, your face. Your face in the bush. Okay. Before I could respond to her provocation, she disappeared in thin air, leaving a grin floating before me for a short moment more. That is, if you can. With a flicker, the grin, too, vanished. Welp. What did the rabbit call her again, Alice? I ran my fingers through my bangs and sighed. Looking around, I was alone on my search again. She said later, so check out the party. Check out the party. Oh, I took out the invitation that the white rabbit had delivered to me, running my fingers against the paper of the envelope and the imprint of the wax seal of some sort of animal, tore the invitation open. Inside I found a card and read it to myself. Alice. The Duchess requests the honor of your presence at her ball. Today, tomorrow, time eternal. The Duchess's estate, the manor. You are required to bring a companion. Flipping the card over, I noticed something of a crudely drawn map, followed the lines on the map, and somehow pinpointed where I was in relation to the manor. I had nothing to bring to the party, nor did I have a readily available guest. Pondered about whether I should go or not, seeing as that I could put it off indefinitely, but with the Red Queen's part still missing, perhaps someone there would know. Duchess should have been close to the Queen, for example. That at least the tutors had mentioned. As for the +1, my mind wandered to a few human acquaintances in the Wonderland. You could take the White Queen, but I am queer, and I am going for the Hatter, because those mixed eyes... Yep. I returned to the Hatter, who was having her usual tea time, and invited her. Hatter, won't you accompany me to a ball? I rather won't. Alice, did you have a request it that way? I'll treat you a favor. A favor for a favor. Why does Alice say it like that? What is happening in Alice's head? Why is Alice talking in third person to Alice's self? I'll treat you a favor for a favor. If you'll come to the ball with me, I can do something for you. Take some pity. Alice has no friends. No friends, no pets, no siblings, no one, none. Do favors have flavor like butter? I would say I have at least one of the above. What sort of favor would you offer me, Alice? A limb, a tongue, a heart? Alice, you don't have anything that I want and that I can't get myself. Cuppa for your sandwich, Alice. Here's the salt. I passed her the pepper as she slid the salt and a cup of tea over to me. Fiddling with the salt container, I tasted a spoonful of humiliation atop my tongue. I have no friends. She says she has no friends. She really has no friends. You have no friends? What am I? March's favorite old buttersticks? Well, if you would. If you would. See, she says it. I would rather not. A hatter doesn't matter about the nobles who just like the flatter. I'm no good with nobles after all, I'm just a hatter. For a second, her voice dipped. Hatter is better off here, all alone. I barely heard the hatter's low words. And it's also still tea time. How can we go off to a ball when we've yet to finish afternoon tea? Good, that's a good point. She stirred her tea, watching as I slumped into my seat and played with the salt. But I rather appreciate you. My heart skipped a beat. Oh. Why? Alice, why did you just find that slight smile somewhat charming? Because it is fairly charming. Clink. The sound of my teaspoon hitting against the rim of my cup broke me out of my thoughts. I looked down. Putting the cup to my mouth, I took a sip and found that I had put salt into my tea. Terrible. I'll accompany you, Alice. When is the ball? Anytime. It's not very nice of you to say. It's not tea time here, then. Not very good of you to be biased against tea time, don't you know? We finished off our tea and sandwiches. After a few more sips, I sneakily dumped the salted tea behind my chair. The hatter put the Dormouse and the March hare away. After lingering at the tea table for a few moments longer, we got up to leave. She waved goodbye to the puppets, hesitant as if scared of leaving this place. Then we used the shoddy map on the back of the invitation card to find our way to the Duchess's place. Whoa! Was not expecting that. Look at that! That's a whole freaking castle! There's buttresses! Buttresses! Dang! Okay, hold on. After a walk, we arrived at the manor. The hatter shook her legs as if just the bit of walking had tired her out. Then again, the bags under her eyes conveyed that she hadn't slept well for a while. The guard stopped us at the entrance. Halt! Please show your invitation card! Handed the guard the card. He looked it over, glancing at me and the hatter before returning it to me. The guard gestured and led us inward a few steps through the entranceway. To enter, guests must provide an arm. An arm will be returned to you whenever you wish to leave the party. An arm? A limb? The guard nodded. Please provide an arm. Uncharacteristically, the hatter said nothing the entire time to the guard. She warily looked at his sheathed sword and shuffled behind me. You may not enter without providing an arm. Offer the Red Queen's arm. I crossed my arms and tapped my feet as the guard repeated his blocking words as a handful more times. While the thought of offering my own limb came up, I decided against it. As much we needed to find another arm to give. Well, I love to suggest this. We do have a spare back at the tea table. Her Majesty surely wouldn't mind, don't you think? Yes, indeed. She had no tongue to speak otherwise. With that, we made a trip back to the hatter's place. The hatter hopped over to the dog cage that we set by the Red Queen. Popping it open, she pulled out a severed arm and quickly slammed the door shut. The limb flailed in the hatter's hands till she unceremoniously tossed it to me. This was the Red Queen's arm. I never quite thought that I would accompany Her Majesty to a ball. It gives me shivers. To me, it felt so obvious that this was the Red Queen's arm. I wonder if someone will recognize the arm. We'd certainly be in a good deal of trouble. And I would prefer not to have the trouble of getting the arm back if someone tries to take it away. They won't with Wonderland. They wouldn't want to recognize it anyhow. I've been here for a while, but still this logic fascinates me. Wonderland. We take a tea break. According to the hatter, it was still tea time after all. Shall we go on to the ball, milady? Did you milady the hatter? Although I'm afraid I've got no pumpkin carriage nor glass slippers for you. You're charming enough as is. Lead the way, Alice. That wink. Oh, and the fang, the winky fang time. Arm in hand, we returned to the Duchess's manor. Guard greeted us with the same phrases, asking for an arm for the entrance fee, to which we responded by handing over the arm that we had retrieved. He glanced at both of us, noting that neither of us were missing a limb. The guard handed it off to a servant who put it on a sealed box and took it away for safekeeping nonetheless. You may enter, esteemed guests. Whoa. Hi. We arrived at the Duchess's ballroom. Although the hostess was nowhere to be found, servants milled around the floor with the refreshments to the guests. Oh! A quartet performed in the front. Food sat at the tables, to the sides of the room. All around were faceless people, dressed up like clowns. Faceless people. They were uninteresting people. They sent a few glances our way, as we came without much fanfare. Already, I didn't like them. Perhaps it was their beady, pig-like eyes. For all that they were faceless, I saw only clowns and swine. I approached the group, thinking to gain some information. Hello. Hello to you as well. The guests seemed wary upon seeing me, but showed a displeased reaction upon setting eyes on the Hatter, who had reluctantly followed me along. And the peasant? Which one was it? Ah, the one with the vermin. Where are your little raggedy friends? The rat? And the hare? The Red Queen's little pet was happy to see them gone. The rabbit's always been like that, rather than rotting. She likes the cutting. And the animal in such a position, I really do not approve. Oh. Her Majesty likes it. Well, she's gone now. You shouldn't say that. Speak of the devil, and she will come. The devil indeed. 'Tis a shame that the White Queen's always been a fool. A pretty bird. But as a ruler? The Red Queen liked her well enough, and certainly from the rumors, she's done something quite pleasant. For us, you mean? Don't jinx it. The group stage whispered amongst themselves as they pointed to the Hatter, like they were looking at a spectacle. The Hatter at the time was simply staring off into space. I didn't mean to save a screenshot. Alright, cool. Is that lunatic glaring at us? This is the problem with peasants. It's staring at us. My, how uncomfortable. I can't believe the thing rolls around with the animals. Tut tut, the animals are all gone. It's the least that Her Majesty has done for us in her petty red reign of pretty red rain. Now let's get away from the filth. The stench of vermin is unbearable. I must ask the Duchess about who can be let into her ballroom. A servant passed by with a tray full of champagne. When the guests removed 2 floats from the tray and offered me one with a slur in her words. Have some alcohol. What's this game with alcohol? Did you have some business with us? No. I shook my head and turned away. Drinks should be shared only in pleasant company. Let's take our leave from these people, Hatter. Chitter, chatter, chitter, chatter. I noticed the other guests making snide comments on the Hatter and giving her the side eye. Like that. Yeah, like that. Well, stepping back from me, of all people, saying those things to my person, someone who was mine, my Hatter. My Hatter? They deserve punishment, capital or worse. I was right, Alice. What a shame that I had no such power. We moved to the sides where the food was, seeing a few people lingered by refreshments for long. 2 of us picked up some cakes and snacks. As I tasted, I couldn't help but feel that the Hatter made better food. Tingly sensation spread through my body as I ate. Hatter, what is this? My voice changed pitches as I talked, At one moment, I sounded squeaky as a mouse, and the next, as low as an elephant. Me too. Playing with the odd refreshments, we found ourselves speaking like animals. Meow. Woof. Woof indeed. Meow meow. Woof woof woof. Sorry, woof woof woof. I wondered what she said. She looked so pleased, as if she made the world's greatest joke that had just gone unheard. Next we tried the pudding. Discomfort filled my heart as if something dirty was coming out of every pulse, and with every squeeze of the ventricle pushing blood through the aorta. I hate this. I hate you. I don't know how I deal with bedlamite dog like you. Really, really, really hate you. It's Red. The Red's fault. I'll kill. They're dead, dead, dead. So I'm alone. Oh no. It's Red. It's Red's fault. I'll kill. They're dead, dead, dead. So I'm alone. There's so much trauma in that. The Hatter blocked her words and stuffed a cookie into her mouth. Wolf. What needs to be done has to be done, but once it's done, we should certainly purge. It's been such a long time. I've got to punish that little bird. And your head will make good decoration. There's not a worthy cell inside. You're a lunatic and a fool. Putting a hand over my mouth and clenching my jaw, I shut up as well till the distortion in my heart disappeared. I didn't mean to say any of that. Pudding must have twisted our words. I as well. Had it, Alice? As we experienced the strange food, the other guests continued to mingle and dance. This was a ball, so ball things they did. The music stopped, along with the chatter. It was at this time the Duchess made her appearance. She was the featureless woman who hid her face. Instinct told me that she was ugly, yet I could not see anything, not disfigurement nor beauty. She existed as the Duchess, but could not be seen. She was only perceived. I mean, unlike some people's gender who don't want to be perceived at all. I see you. Oh wait, I don't perceive you. That. You'll know what I mean. I'm making a joke about agender because they're absolutely valid. And it's a whole hilarious joke about like, I do not want to be perceived. My gender is do not perceive me. And it's great. Tonight we have a special gift to be given to a single guest. She gestured, and a servant behind her came up with an item hidden under a red cloth. A hushed whispering ran through the ballroom as everyone guessed at what could be hidden underneath that would make the Duchess consider it special. We are holding a chess tournament, the usual game that ends when the king has fallen ever here, where the king has long gone. Of course, the winner will receive the prize. Oh. The servant removed the cloth. All around, the guests let out a collective gasp. What do you think? Well, why? I could only be for our dearest majesty's leg. There was a severed leg. The queen's left leg, from the looks of the limb, could fit perfectly onto the torso stump sitting at the Hatter's place. May the best strategist win. The Duchess clapped. The servants began to move out, setting up tables and chess sets in a matter of minutes. With a matchup list created, the tournament started. As I made my moves with Hatter, I thought back to all the chess I had played with for the tutors. They had been relieved that at least I hadn't forgotten anything and everything. Losing each time had been a painful ordeal, so I too was glad that I remembered. The Hatter had a brilliant strategic mind. Of course she does. I watched as she flung her queen into a crowd of pawns, only for it to be eaten alive. Most of the time. We made our way to the finals, where we met with the last opponent not at table, but in the cleared out space in the ballroom with a large chessboard overlaid. The last opponent was the Duchess. Around her lined up stood 1 and a third dozen soldiers dressed up in black like chess pieces. What is this? Why human chess? Chess is an imitation of bloody war. In this land without war, we must take steps to make life more interesting. That is what our dearest Majesty proclaimed. One of you two have to take the role of a piece, and otherwise I will provide the other pieces for you to play with. Ah, so you're meaning that this is wizard's chest. Is that what it is? I'm gonna save, just in case. I exchanged glances with the Hatter. Even though I couldn't understand what went on in those eyes, but I had already decided. I saw those eyes. Can you... Yeah, you can see the eyes turn. Maybe I didn't want to see her potential get hurt, as no one here cared for the life of the Hatter. Odder. What a thought to have. I rather liked her. I would like to take the role of a piece. Okay, overwrite that save. She threw the queen. I'll be the king. I chose to take the king's king piece's role, for the king was the end of the game. While I was given a fake white crown and sword, I was not a soldier. Our white pieces shuffled in and took their positions on the board. Soon, enough of the chessboard was said. Human-sized version of strategy game unfolded. Hatter started with the first move. Clang! Clash! One by one, our white pieces on the board fell, almost like dominoes. Perhaps don't deploy the queen. No. A piece on the board cannot speak. We are the players, and you are but a game piece. Pieces came dangerously close to me. The sound of metal filled my ears. Warm blood splattered over my face as an overzealous knight beheaded our last bishop. The guts spilled out over my shoes when the Hatter took out the knight who had cornered me. I've never been much for strategy. The Hatter yawned and rubbed her eyes. All our pieces had died, taken off the board with but a smear on the ground, aside from the pawns, whereas the Duchess had taken far fewer losses. I had a feeling that we were doomed. Alas, but what can we do? No speaking. The game continued, and by mad luck, the Hatter made her way to the other side of the board. Promote it. Promote it! Let the pawn turn into a queen! That's how it works, isn't it? I watched as the Hatter turned the game around with her remaining X-pawns. The Black King was surrounded. Checkmate, Duchess. Then we cut him down. We cut him down? The Duchess clapped her hands in congratulations. Huh. The servants cleared the floor, wiping it down. They made it once more sparkling clean, as if red had not just been spilled in a human facsimile of a game. One came along with a wet towel for me to wipe away anything that had gotten on me during the match. Congratulations! You are a true pair of master strategists. With this, the competition has concluded, and you two are the winners. Would you like to take your prize now? Yes. The Hatter bobbed her head up and down rapidly. Duchess gestured to servant over. Our dearest Majesty's leg. Do take care of it. Well, lest she comes back and has you punished for disrespecting the crown. She took the leg from the servant and handed it to me. I hope you enjoy the rest of the ball. Duchess left again with her servant following after her. She seemed to have enjoyed the chess tournament. Just as quickly as she left, the chess setups were cleared away. The guests returned to eating, drinking, and dancing. Let's leave. She had no intention to stay, neither had I, having accomplished the unexpected boon of finding a piece of the right queen. Alright, well, I'm gonna leave this here. Thank you so much for watching. Wow, we just literally, like, slaughtered so many pieces. Just, like, going through that, I'm sitting here like, there's so many deaths around Alice, and Alice is just like, yeah, it's fine. Holy snap. And what in the world? Like, the nobles, and what is the conspiracy around the White Queen? The White Queen is something more than she seems. Alright, well, I gotta know. I got thoughts. But I'm gonna leave this here. Come check it out, subscribe. Also, check this out on your own. The link to it is down below. You can always play this yourself. It's free. Highly recommend supporting the original developer. Go check it out for yourself. Play for yourself. I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye.